I hope there are some awards buzz for her creepy performance. Had a blast, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you both live for your 200th episode live.
I hope you live.
Ooh, Thomas sends a message.
Yeah, get your tickets. We'll see about that.
Execute order 66. Hi guys, just before we start today's episode, we were midway through and George's camera just had a little bit of a wobbly, and so for the first 12, 13 minutes, you won't have a shot of George. George is going to do a holding face that will be for the entire episode that he is talking. So I'll leave most of the camera shot on me. George is in the room, but George, give us some thought faces. And that's all you're going to see. So if you're listening, normal service resumed. If you're watching, George will be properly back in about 12, 13 minutes. Great. On with the show.
Do you know people who wear shorts all year round?
I know there was a guy I went to school with who, obviously not a school uniform, but like if you saw him on a weekend, middle of winter, you'd see him in shorts. Yeah.
What's with those people?
I don't know. And they're quite defensive of it because people call it out quite a lot.
Yeah.
They go, "Why are you wearing shorts?" And it's like, I think they're obviously fatigued by answering the question.
I say it's quite a statement. And especially, I've seen a guy wear shorts in the snow and he was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
If you're going for a little run, maybe. But still, I think if you're just casually rocking the shorts in 5-degree weather.
I do avoid shorts as much as I can, but I do.
Oh, really?
I wear them on holiday. Yeah, like I wear shorts on a run or to the gym. But
what puts you off with shorts? Is it the long legs?
Yeah, I had this conversation with Will Poulter, actually.
That's right,
And
yeah.
because he wears shorts entirely through the runtime of Death of a Unicorn, which
right.
unfortunately isn't a great film, but he's a
No.
very fun part of it. And I was just like, are you a shorts guy? Because you're wearing, shorts through the whole thing. And he said, you and I are quite tall, so there's a lot of like the leg just runs straight down, and he was wearing loafers. So it just goes through the ankle straight in. It's like this ramp into the feet, but for the film it made him look quite comedic and pompous.
I think he looked very stylish.
Yeah, I mean, it looked very nice. But he sort of had like he was a roll neck jumper.
Yeah. Oh yes,
with
that's
the
right.
shorts.
Yeah.
It's like there's all sorts of imbalances going on there. But no, I'm not like insecure about it. I think it is the length of my body. It's like, oh hey, they're shorts, man.
But when you wear shorts, aren't you like, these are really comfortable? Smart shorts or casual shorts? I'm wearing shorts right now.
Yeah, I know.
That's the twist at
That's
the end
why
of the movie.
It sounds a little bit off.
No, it's just that James and I had this discussion off air because it's a normal. I'd say it's 19 degrees right now.
It's not an obvious shorts.
It's not an obvious shorts day, but
it's a decision.
It's a decision.
Yeah.
It's not a. Like last week when it was like 28 degrees, no option.
Yeah.
It's obviously shorts.
I'm really enjoying in the summer months like thin linen-y trousers.
Right.
So I've got my easy pants, which aren't linen, but they're very breezy.
Yeah.
And then I've got easy breezy, and then I've got like some blue linen trousers that just when the wind comes, George, it goes straight through through the fabric, straight through the fabric.
Yeah.
And I'm winning. It's like it's fine. You can take me on a hot tube, you can take me riding down a bike or on a long walk, and I'm breezy.
I think I was saying because I have to commute, something about the shorts in moderately warm weather is quite liberating because you think. Top half, look, this is the camera ready bit.
Yeah.
And then, like today I'm wearing like 2 layers up here, but you're thinking if I need to ventilate, if I need to expel some heat, get the legs out.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You know what?
Vent and glow.
James, we're tall guys with long, thin legs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they look gorgeous.
People will very, very nicely compliment our clothes on this show. And they say, you wear such lovely clothes, which is really nice. But it's always because we have these conversations and we think this way that leads us to want to try and dress nice. It comes from a thought process. It comes from a state of mind.
It's a lifestyle.
It's a state of mind.
And
Either
also,
have it or we don't.
You put yourself on camera every week and tell us you're not going to go, maybe I should wear this
Think
week.
twice about the outfit.
Yeah.
Should I wear that vest on my
every
thing?
week you come in with a crop top that says babe on it, and I say, James,
Juicy.
I'm not sure today's the day. You know what you could do it? I think you could do it.
If we were doing this 10, 15 years ago, this would be an audio-only podcast because just like the proliferation of online video wouldn't have happened. We could do whatever we want. I don't feel that burdened by being on camera.
If we'd filmed this 10 years ago, what would we be wearing? So let's say we filmed this in August 2015.
I wouldn't say I'd be too far
I don't think
off.
I'd be too distant.
Yeah.
I probably would have had a
long
sleeve shirt.
You still, this is where I sleep, literally. You still have to go and see the world to get here.
Yes, you're right. I probably wouldn't have worn shorts, maybe. Maybe I would have done. You know what I might have turned up in is like coloured chinos. Like a blue or a pink or something. That kind of proliferated men's culture, men's fashion in like the early 2010s.
Yeah.
I was riding that to the end.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
Do you know what? Flipping this round, saw a man on the tube earlier, stood next to me, and he was in a full suit,
Lovely.
Heading northward. So he's not heading towards the city.
Kind of suit, like a sort of
Not a super expensive suit, like
Bill Nye living vibes. How?
No, it was. I'd say it's a wool suit, just a standard grey wool suit, not cheap, but not overly flashy, with a standard tie and a briefcase.
Yeah.
And a briefcase he looks like he's had for 40 years.
Yeah.
And you know what? I looked at him and I thought, you're a dying breed.
Yeah,
I respect your commitment to the briefcase.
Yes.
Because they're not voluminous. They're not practical.
You have to hold it with one hand.
He's not carrying a water bottle.
No.
He's just carrying, and I'm like, it is still warm. I'm here in shorts. He's there in a full wool suit, but he looked very smart and well put together. And I kind of thought, you are a dying breed. I respect you, sir.
When I was young and I pictured my adult self, this is crazy, adult self going to work, I really did think that one day I would own a briefcase, which is mental.
Like the in-betweeners.
Like in-betweeners. Just like, like my dad had a briefcase for like a good amount of time. And obviously like you just project he would leave with not a thin one. He had one of those more bulky, less trendy, like much more practical, but like smart ones. I was like, yeah, of course, one day I'll own a briefcase. And in James Bond films, like he would often walk with a briefcase and you really just like go, that's a grown-up man.
Like in Bill Nye Living, you're right.
Bill Nye, I just thought one day I'd have a briefcase, and now it would be such a statement, and incredibly strange and impractical to carry a briefcase. There was a guy at our school who, like, when we got to sixth form, who was very expressive, and he wore pashminas and he wore a suit every day when he didn't have to. And I think he went on to do like classics at Oxford, like just one of those like lovely guy, but you know that type, very expressive, colourful shirts. He would come into school with a briefcase and he would put it on the desk and open it, and he would get his books out, and he was a character.
Do you know what would be a real statement is if you had one of the ministerial briefcases which opens the other way. You know the red ministerial briefcases that the cabinet ministers have.
Right.
They are. Well, the red one is, I think, typically the Chancellor's one, but like it opens. You have. I'm trying to describe it to you here. Like this is the briefcase here, and like it opens like this, and this bit doesn't open here. It kind of folds up in a very special way. But my dad had a tie pin as well.
Oh right,
and I'm like, he didn't really work in anything fancy either. I just think it was just like the fashion language, not the clip. No, it was like a pin, which looks like. It would poke through the tie, and you'd hold a tie in place. It's a bit like a badge, like a small gold badge.
I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
And I think, like I said, my dad wasn't like overly fancy, but I think he was just the fashion language of the businessman at the time.
Yeah.
A little bit of that tie.
Because now what's sad is suits are obviously lovely, and they do make people look
like
smart.
A suit,
and you know, you get to the only really time I do them now is for a wedding, sometimes like a premiere for the show. But it's almost like it feels now, unfortunately, like we are dressing up as something to represent a status level or an industry that we don't have or don't work in. So that's why sometimes I'm a bit like, of course I wear a suit, it's fine, but it's always like we go to these weddings and of course we dress in our nice clothes and it makes for nice photos, but it's almost like we're pretending, presenting. We have like of course I'd wear a suit for a smart occasion. No, these are the only suits I wear a smart occasion for. I don't really care. It's just nice to wear a suit, but
because we work in media now. Yeah, so you do look like a media type today.
Yeah,
baseball cap. You know,
get me a moustache and a non milk flat white, and
in fact, if you were wearing shorts and loafers with white socks
I'd be
pulled
unstoppable.
up, you'd be media mega man.
Yeah, like Jesus Christ. GQ, Snapchat, how to dress for the summer.
James, not all the chore coats in my wardrobe could compare with the media wardrobe you would have.
Absolutely.
Anyway, welcome to episode 194, I believe, of Pulp Kitchen.
Oh, we're not 195.
I think we're 194.
Yeah,
I think we are. Last week we reviewed Materialists and Together, two very different movies, but both about relationships.
Too right, yes, different tone, but yes, and we got I think we got a lot of emails this week.
We've got a lot of people writing about materials and still writing in about weapons as well.
Because I felt with Materialists, like I enjoyed it with some niggles, you a little bit less so, and then Natasha was like, "What's the thing with?" My sister was like, "What's the thing with Materialists?" And I was like, I liked it. I think you might find it interesting. Go and see it. Let me know. Went to go see it. She says, don't know why anyone likes it. Thought it was very boring.
Right.
And I said, oh, shame. But interesting there. And again, I didn't get into the whole conversation of like, what was your impression going in with the marketing? Like, it's not a Nancy Meyers plucky young sort of like thing in New York. I haven't got to that conversation yet, but I'd be interested to... I think I prefaced it. I was like, oh, it's an interesting film about relationships. Yes. It's a lot slower, but
it split people.
She found it boring.
Well, we'll get onto those later with those emails. But today,
and she does listen. So hi, Natasha.
Hi, Natasha. How are you doing? I'm George. Today we're going to be reviewing two movies. We're going to be reviewing a movie called Sorry Baby, which was a movie that we met the cast with at Sundance. Yes. And it's got Naomi Ackie and Lucas Hedges in it, and it's got a lot of buzz about it, so I'm going to be reviewing that. We're also going to be reviewing The Life of Chuck. Now, a few weeks ago, maybe months ago now, James dropped a preview review of Life of Chuck because you saw it at a screening for the
South by Southwest London premiere.
But in doing so, James got the opportunity to interview Chiwetel Ejiofor, who we're going to... The interview of which you will listen to in this episode. So we'll do Sorry Baby, then we'll go into Life of Chuck. We'll have the interview, and then I'll give you my thoughts having now seen the movie.
Chiwetel Ejiofor, who we were saying hasn't aged.
No,
as far as I've been aware.
Real
of who
Dorian
he is.
Gray of a man.
Yeah, go and look back at something from 2014 of Chiwetel Ejiofor and tell me he's aged 12 years.
Yeah.
Because I tell you that's not true.
12 years, not the choice amount of time.
No. Wonderful film.
Wonderful, yeah.
Wonderful. And he doesn't age in that fucking movie. It's outrageous. They don't even do anything to him. Case I bet they tried to muddy up his face. It just didn't work. He just impervious to age.
And then yes, we've got loads of emails about weapons and materialists and all the stuff you've sent in. So look forward to getting onto that. And I've got a new game for James at the end. A brand new game we've never played before.
New game.
It's working on the train on the way in. I was like,
chuckling to yourself. Yeah.
But before we do that, actually, we have something really important to say. If you haven't got your tickets yet for episode 200, guys, go and get them now. Follow the link in the description below. It's going to be such a fun night. James and I are planning it all the time. If you like talking about movies, listening to people talk about movies, playing movie games, if you like this show, basically, and you want to see it in the flesh, in the 3 dimensions, get your tickets.
We've mapped out the spider diagram graph of what is and what isn't and where it comes in and the bang and the fireworks. And
you and I have been Josh Brolin and Julia Garner sat in a car getting the map out and drawing a line going, well, if we start here...
reference.
It's a weapons reference.
Absolutely.
For the movie at the moment. So, guys, get your tickets. It's going to be great. On with the show. So let's begin with Sorry Baby, which is a movie that's got a lot of buzz at the moment and was one of the films that we talked to the cast of at Sundance this year. It's written, directed, and starring Eva Victor, an actor and writer-director who I'm not familiar with their previous work, but has delivered this movie, and also stars Naomi Ackie and Lucas Hedges, and the 3 of them were at Sundance, and actually they were a very fun, giggly trio, and I really enjoyed their company, and it's clear now, having seen this movie, I understand, I can see why they're a tight unit together.
I think it's good that people who go on film marketing promos together, that they get on. Because could you imagine you shoot for months at a time and you really don't like them, and you go, I've got to go to fucking Utah now.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna go to France or Venice, and I can't stand them.
Imagine not being able to stand someone that you've worked with. We've all had colleagues in the past. You don't know, and then you've got to share a hotel space, a workspace,
or you just
minute.
spend too much time with them.
You
know what, I do like them, but I don't want to be with them for 5 days straight.
I've heard the same stories, the same jokes, the same things. Yeah. One day, James. One day.
I wonder if ever. I wonder if there's ever we won't sit those two next to. We won't pair them for a junket.
Yes.
Just in case.
Yeah, the politics.
That's why sometimes it's like, oh no, it's
have you ever seen
thing and thing paired, not thing and thing paired.
I will say that I think sometimes the internet overanalyzes junket clips and the relationship between the two. But I will say, have you ever watched the junket clip of Jeremy Renner and Brie Larson for Avengers Endgame?
So Brie Larson gets a really hard time.
She does, and I'm not trying to say I'm not.
There have been entire videos unpacking how unlikable she is.
I think it's totally unfair.
Yeah, totally unfair.
But I found that there was something interesting in their body. In this particular clip, I remember thinking their body language and their answers are just completely different. So Brie Larson would say something like, and I just feel really lucky to be able to use the role and the position I have to do something for good or whatever. And Jeremy Renner will immediately say, I don't really see it as a thing for me to do anything to do with that. As anything important, I see it more as just delivering a good movie. And it's just like,
they have different philosophies.
You know, the second that junket was over, one of them got up and left and got their coffee. They didn't speak about it because it's all part of the work. It's being an actor, especially a high-profile actor or creative of any kind. It's a 360 job. Oh my God, the stuff you see on camera that we consume is just the front end. All the performance all around it.
Then the opposite of that is Ariana Grande, Cynthia Erivo promotion for Wicked, and then now it was Vanessa Kirby and Pedro Pascal for Fantastic Four, which is very into kissing on the neck, all this strange behavior.
I bet Joseph Quinn and Eben Moss Bacharach were happy to get out of that. Let's go do something else.
We'll just do a little. And they would have been paired for junket because they're more playfully associated. Anyway, sorry, just think
Let's carry on.
Junket dynamics.
So yeah, Sorry Baby. So this is set in an unnamed part of New England. I couldn't quite deduce where, maybe Massachusetts. I thought it was upstate New York, but it's not. But somewhere in New England, where Eva Victor plays Agnes, and Agnes is living in this sort of small white timber-framed house in the woods. And the film opens with her welcoming Naomi Ackie to the house, and they have this weekend together. And it's clear they're two friends who haven't seen each other in a while, and they're catching up. The film is split into different time periods with title cards coming up. And the film opens with The Year with the Baby, and this is the sort of the opening 20 minutes. And it transpires that they 4 years ago were grad students studying English literature or American literature at clearly a very prestigious American college. And this was the house they lived in, her and Naomi Ackie. And they have this lovely weekend together catching up, and they catch up with friends as well. But it's clear that something has happened in the past that means that Eva Victor's character and Naomi Ackie are on slightly different paths. And so Naomi Ackie comes to share some great personal news, and it kind of reveals how Agnes, meanwhile, has actually kind of been stuck. So she currently works at the university where she was a graduate student 4 years ago. She's living in the same house that she was shared with Naomi Ackie, and the friends that she graduated with, she hasn't seen in many, many years. And some of them are even resentful of the fact that she works at the university. But like I said, in their small interactions, you are aware of something that happened in the past while she was a student. That means she's on this different path. We then cut back 4 years ago, and we sort of follow the events. And like I said, the film kind of follows these different chapters. But here's the thing with the film is that it's a really interesting piece of work. And I actually think this film is really, really good. The first 30 minutes, I'll admit, are kind of straightforward, kind of American indie fare. I was like, this is fine. This is okay. But then when we cut back to the past and we are shown and deal with the incident that happened in the past, for the purposes of this review, I'm not going to say what the thing was that happens in Eva's past, even though it's revealed at sort of like 25 minutes in. However, in my review, you might be able to deduce what that is. If you do deduce what it is, it's not a spoiler. I just wanted to respect the fact that some people might want to go into this film very open and not knowing anything about it. I knew very little about the film going in, so that I enjoyed how the film revealed itself to me.
All numbered episodes of Pulp Kitchen are spoiler-free.
Exactly. So the first 30 minutes of this film, I thought was like fairly standard American indie fare, and I was getting on with it okay. But then when we cut back to the past and we are shown the incident in question, from then onwards, the film progresses and it gets stronger and smarter and sharper. And it kind of builds to this final scene, which explains actually what the title of the film references. It's called Sorry Baby. And it's emotionally just pitched perfectly. And I came away from the film thinking and sitting in the space that the film had created and just really drinking it all in. The film engages in a really difficult subject matter, but in a way that I think is incredibly sensitive and really keenly observed and just deeply emotionally intelligent. It observes how the ripple effects of trauma can manifest in the smallest of triggers. How in one scene of dialogue, for example, there's lots of words being said, but one choice, seemingly innocuous word can kind of stick out like a piece of broken glass and makes you as the audience wince in the same way it makes the character wince. And because we know the implications of what that word means. And a lot of the emotional intelligence of the film comes from Eva Victor, who is the writer and director and star. And their performance in particular is just spot on. It is subtle and delicate and also comedically sublime. Their comic timing is so funny in this film because there are moments that are like jet black comedy. And when the humor transpires, like in all good black comedies, it almost seems misplaced, but it's actually perfect. And Eva Victor's comic timing is perfect. And their scenes with Lucas Hedges in particular are fun and full of chemistry. I think the film reminded me, there's a film that came out a few years ago that I really liked called Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, which is a different kind of film and a lot darker tonally, but it was about two young girls having to get a bus from Pennsylvania to New York because one of them needed an abortion. And I remember thinking with that film that the success of it was that it took a scenario that, through to the sad privilege of the fact that I'm a man, I will never know what it's like to be a young woman traveling across state to get an abortion. But that film successfully achieved a space, a classic cinematic empathy, to hold me in there to make me fully realize and understand and feel the ramifications of that situation. Now, that's a very different film to Sorry Baby, but similarly with Sorry Baby, I really appreciated what this film was doing. And anyway, it's what art is for, to create an empathetic space, and for you to sit with that, emotionally intelligent feeling, and just to make me understand the ramifications of this whole scenario. It was just great. And I thought this is exactly what films should be made for. It's exactly what I like to see in a film. It placed me in Agnes's shoes, and I think it just succeeded in communicating that situation in such an intelligent way, and answering questions that the audience, and anticipating questions that the audience might have in really interesting ways, and just done in the most emotionally intelligent way. So again, I've been kind of tiptoeing around it, so I preserve the film for those who want to watch it. But I think it's a really good, proper film, and it's, like I say, really grew on me. The first 30 minutes, I was like, this is fine, but coming out of it, I think that's a really, really strong piece of work, very important piece of work that is tonally really well handled. Like I said, it's serious when it needs to be serious, but it's jet black comedy when it needs to be jet black, and which is important, because if you're dealing with a film about pain, humor, the emotional response to pain is a whole myriad of emotions, right? And so it's not all serious; it's also comedic, and just really interesting, and a great cast, and I liked it very, very much, and I really, really kind of recommend that people see it, because it really snuck up on me. So hats off to Eva Victor as well for doing the hat trick. When you see a writer, director, actor delivering their debut film, I just don't think you expect it to be as accomplished and balanced as it is here, and I think it's great
and exciting when it's like everything they've wanted to say, do, and perform in and write. I think there's something quite exciting, and when it works as well, it's like an exciting arrival. That sounds great. I'd heard a similar exciting buzz around it, but like, you really didn't know too much going in. Excited to hear that it's really good. I think we've had a big summer of really big films, even like 28 Years Later, which is sort of the springtime. It still was a smaller film, but still felt like big. Everyone come and see this. So I've actually been longing to find something to watch that I would really enjoy. That's a little bit, not to say there's anything quiet about the film, but just sort of less in my face. Fantastic Four. I look forward to checking it out.
And every time something, important or big or significant would happen, and you kind of knew what would happen, it's told in a way that it feels new, that is both sensitive but also open to the viewer. And I remember thinking a few times, I was like, oh, that's an interesting decision they've made there to do there, and that really works. I'd love to chat about it more maybe when you've seen it.
That'd be great.
But go check that out. That's Sorry Baby, and that is out this week in the UK.
As always, guys, if you've seen Sorry Baby and you want to send in your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, your reviews, we would genuinely love to hear what you think. Send your thoughts in to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. You didn't come in there.
Sorry, I just nodded. I had a mouthful of iced coffee.
I'll sometimes throw it over, but not all the time. Keep sharp. Lovely. So next, as George said at the beginning of the episode, a few months ago now, I got the chance to go and see Life of Chuck, and I reviewed it back then. So if you want to go and hear my thoughts on Life of Chuck from when I saw it it was the closing night at South by Southwest, you can go and check that out. I broadly had quite a nice time, but I think I wasn't gaga over it. I did say that the way in which the film was presented to me, with a long preamble, and already, by the way, we were an hour late to the screening.
Oh,
so
God,
we
that's
sat
not
there
good.
for the hot screening room for an hour. And then lovely to hear from Tom Hiddleston and Chiwetel Ejiofor and Mike Flanagan, and just talk so effusively about the film. It was a little bit like pre-warmed up. And then we had the film, which is very sort of like gushy and really sort of like, it was sappy with the emotions. And then we had this long thing. By that point I think it was a Sunday night, it was like, can I just go home now? But nonetheless, I enjoyed the film. Lots of big ideas in there, but still, I think I had like some things that maybe just wasn't quite coming home for me. So you can go and check that out. After that day, I got the chance to speak to Chiwetel Ejiofor, which was such a great privilege. He's a brilliant actor. Fantastic. He's been in one of my favourite films, 12 Years a Slave.
Good in everything.
And he's good in everything, and he's polite and sweet, as I'm sure you're going to hear right now. But I got to just ask him a few questions about the film. So here is, from a few months ago, with slightly shorter hair, my chat with Chiwetel Ejiofor. First of all, congratulations on the film. I was there in the audience on Saturday night when you guys premiered it.
Oh, great.
I really just got the sense that you, Tom, and Mike, you were so passionate about the film, and making it and then obviously showing it to an audience. What was the moment where you sort of felt like you were working on something really special? Was it reading the script or being on set? Where did that moment really sort of come true for you?
Well, I think it was all the way through. I think it was, from the moment that I heard about it, Stephen King, his novella and Mike Flanagan directing and, so sent me the script and a conversation with Mike afterwards. And, there's the whole process of reading the script and first of all, I was really entertained by the script. I was like, it was, obviously it's very emotional, it's philosophical, but I found the mystery at the center of it all really engaging and entertaining and just sort of trying to work out what's happening. And and then going after we shot it in Alabama and going over there and just seeing the kind of set and the kind of environment that Mike had sort of set up, which was, it was sort of very beautiful. It was very, just everybody who was involved in it. It was very curated, like every head of department, every member of the cast, every member of the crew, just were all really invested in telling this story. So as soon as I arrived there, I felt like I was really kind of already in the tone. I was already in the tone of the film, which was great.
And I've seen you now play 2 teachers this year.
Oh, yeah.
In Bridget Jones and in this. And also you do a lot of scientist work. Like in 2012, The Martian, and even in the MCU in Doctor Strange, you teach Stephen Strange quite a lot about how to be that. Is this an accidental professorial niche you've carved out for yourself?
I don't know where it came from really, but there's kind of an educator. There's something of an educator about me.
I'm hoping some actors, like many people, want to be sworn at by Samuel L. Jackson, punched by Jason Statham. Like, I want to be taught by Chiwetel Ejiofor in a film at some point.
I'm going to be that guy,
And then what I really like about this film, Life of Chuck, is that it straddles so many genres in a really nice way. It's definitely a coming-of-age film. Yeah. There's obviously loads of great science fiction elements in there. There's a great horror moment too. How would you describe the Life of Chuck to people who haven't had the chance to see it yet?
Well, I think that's a great question. It's complicated to describe. Yeah. I feel like there's a kind of, there's different elements, as you say. I think there's a kind of, there's a life-affirming apocalyptic tale.
I like that.
Is in there, but I think there's, it's also just sort of deeply philosophical, I think. And I think that's what really connects people to it, that if you're in the kind of mindset where you want to think about some of those sort of really large questions in a positive way, in a life-affirming way, then I think the Life of Chuck really does that. And that's not to say that it doesn't have its dark moments, but that is part of life. It has it's a lot of different things that it takes to make up a life, and a life is, as in the Life of Chuck, a kind of a universe, and all of our lives are a sort of universe.
Yeah, sure. Themselves. I want to keep it sort of spoiler-free for people listening and watching, because there's so much of it to be discovered, and there's part of it sort of like non-linearity is part of its charm. But your character is someone who is witnessing the end of the world, and films love to do the end of the world, but there is a really lovely sense of calm and stillness in sort of this apocalyptic part of the film, and lovely scenes of businessmen, dropping their briefcases, people throwing away their smartphones. What were some of the creative conversations you had with Mike Flanagan about this version of the end of the world?
Well, it was a lot of it was that it was this idea of how do you. There's the kind of the hysterics of the end of the world. There's that version of things that, that there's moments of high drama and collapse, and those are that's part of that as well. And, but this really picks up after all of those things, just sort of when those things are happening, maybe they're happening elsewhere, maybe they're going to arrive where you are. And, but you still have to get up, you still have to deal with a sort of wet Wednesday. You still have to deal with the business of the day, and how do you fill those days? And for me, it was something that I think there was something quite collective about that, because I feel like everybody had experienced a version of that during COVID, that there wasn't one of us who wasn't worried about someone or, something, maybe ourselves, or, that we had concerns and questions, and a lot of those things were unresolved in that time, and there was kind of panic initially and naturally, and then it changed. It had to change. Then it was the business of the day. I mean, yes, we don't know where this is going. We don't know what's going to happen, but what am I going to do today? I've still got to figure out how to, go to the store, or how to speak to this person, or how to, And then that sort of connectivity that comes with that. You know, who are you reaching out to? What are the kind of... So all of that I thought was, you know, in the end, I just thought it was very truthful. And that's what excited me about it.
Yeah, and then your part of the film especially, it really sort of unfolds as a mystery to the audience. And you spoke on stage about this idea of things coming full circle in this film, and so much of it doesn't become clear to us till the very end. Is the non-linearity of Life of Chuck really part of its charm in how it reveals itself to you?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it sets down a gauntlet. You know, the early part of the film, it opens this question, and it has to reveal that. You know, like at some point, everything has to be answered, and yet it's so different. You know, that you think, well, okay, that's a task. You know, that's like, how is this gonna resolve? You know, and for me, that was a great pleasure in reading it, and I think a great pleasure in the experience for an audience in watching it, and is seeing how it all sort of comes together and how it all makes sense. And I think once those pieces start to be pulled together, I think it's a really beautiful and almost a sort of cathartic moment for an audience, in the way that I think, you know, great stories are. And I think, you know, Stephen King is such a sort of, I mean, it doesn't need me to say this, but he's such a master at storytelling, and allowing those revelations to come, and, you know, and that's part of the extraordinary charm and brilliance of his work.
I really felt that sort of idea of a master at work in the scene where you explain the sort of the calendar of the of the cosmic scale, and then talk about humanity existing in the final seconds. I just love things like that, anything to do with science, and that image of, you know, the stars burning out. It's one of the most like terrifying but also calming allegories for death.
Yeah.
And then I'm just thinking about back to your first act, and all these little moments and interactions that I'm now thinking over, what did that mean? Were you always putting all of those interactions directly with a metaphor, or was it meant to sort of be obscure and vague? What was how was each moment sort of rationalized in your head for your character?
I think I played it very sort of truthfully, you know, was my angle into it. And it was brilliant for me because I was engaged with other performers who were doing, you know, the same things, but very different styles. Obviously, myself and Karen Gillan were involved in this really tender dynamic between an ex-husband and wife, and them trying to reconnect, you know, in some way, you know, over this course of these events. And that was sort of beautiful in its own way. But then we are working with Matthew Lillard, working with Carl Lumley, you know, just who were bringing completely different things, different energies, you know, but all sort of in the pocket and truthful about what experiences might be, what the sort of chaotic energy of the end of everything might be, or sometimes what the calm is, you know, what the acceptance is, what the gratitude is, you know, all of those things play in it. And so I was really happy to sit in the different kind of emotions that it was bringing up.
Yeah, well, just once again, congratulations on the film. I'm really excited to share this interview and for everyone else to experience it. I'm very much looking forward to talking to people about it and to hear their interpretations.
What a charming man.
What a lovely guy he was.
Yeah.
But yeah, George, you've now got to go and see Life of Chuck. Now it is out, and I'm sure other people are going to get the chance to see it. So now you've seen it, Life of Chuck. How did you find it?
Well, I mean, for those who just to recap what Life of Chuck is about, for those who don't know, and again, James did his review a few months ago, so you can check out his side of thoughts on it. Life of Chuck is a magical, realist, poetically philosophical Stephen King adaptation that is not the horror side of Stephen King. It's much more Sirens on Our End, much more on the Stand By Me, Shawshank, you know, the spirit of the human condition kind of side of Stephen King. Directed by Mike Flanagan, who, like Stephen King, has predominantly done horror in the past and has done things like The Haunting of Hill House and I think some other things as well. And this is not in that territory at all. So you have two horror names not doing horror. The film is told in 3 acts in reverse order. It begins with Act 3, has the Act 2 in the middle, and Act 1 at the end. It is hard to describe. Yeah. It has actually basically a massive ensemble cast. And that was one of the things that surprised me about the movie, is that Tom Hiddleston is the Chuck of the poster. He is the Chuck whose life of the movie is about. But actually, his appearance in the movie is not greater than a lot of the other actors in the film. So you also have Chiwetel Ejiofor, Karen Gillan, Matthew Lillard, Mark Zemeckis,
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill. This guy got confused in my notes there for a second. I'm having a strange day.
Yeah.
And the first act, rather Act 3, which is the beginning, it is a hard one to talk about. In the first third of the movie, essentially the world is just falling apart in every single sense of the word. There seems to be, as one character says, 16 disasters happening every week. You've got pieces of California just falling away, falling into the ocean. You have wildfires, flooding. You have stars going out. You have the power cuts, and absenteeism, and the internet is just broken and doesn't work. But within that, you have a teacher played by Chiwetel Ejiofor who is trying to hold it all together, and he's sort of in communication with his ex-wife, played by Karen Gillan, who is a nurse, and both of them are trying to do their civic duty and keeping things running. And amongst this, they keep seeing adverts everywhere about Chuck Krantz. It says, "Congratulations, Chuck, on 39 years. Thanks for everything. Goodbye." And it's sort of Tom Hiddleston sat at his desk. And in a world that's falling apart, to have all these posters there is very peculiar. And characters talk about it. And Chiwetel Ejiofor says, "Do you know who Chuck Krantz is?" And everyone says, "No, I don't know who that is. I don't know why that's there." But as the world increases to decline, the billboards and the posters about Chuck Krantz increase. You then get two other acts that are more about Chuck Krantz as a character and as a person throughout his life. And I'm kind of tiptoeing around it because the film, in a way, is a kind of mystery that I don't want to spoil too much of. And that's kind of the broad summary there of the plot. So let's. I think I have similar thoughts to you. And let's talk about the good stuff. I love the fact this film is incredibly heartfelt and sincere. And honestly, one of my favorite things about it is that it is got this poetic idealism, this magical realism that, although its philosophical observations might be a little broad and a little blunt, I have missed that kind of idealism, however broad, in mainstream cinema. It reminds me of like some Robert Zemeckis movies, or Frank Capra. There's the Zemeckis from my notes, or Frank Capra, or something like Field of Dreams, where this kind of magical realism flies in the face of what you can argue is an increasingly cynical, logical, literal, safe cinema. But things that read things in that cold light of day, and it's like that Supertramp song, which is like, when I was young, I used to think that life was so wonderful. Then they took me away and showed me how to be logical, cynical, intellectual. And I think when the film succeeds the best is when I want to say, good for you for putting your hand up and asking fun questions and curious questions. It's not about answers. It wears its heart on its sleeve. And I have missed that in cinema. I like that this film is, in a mainstream way, is spiritually and philosophically curious. I like films that look up and wonder.
There are some wonderfully explained, fun ideas about space, time, the cosmos, ego, death. Like all of that I thought was great. And when people like Mark Hamill, who I think is brilliant in this, deliver great monologues, it kind of, I'm a bit of a sucker for it.
Yeah,
like
me
too.
too.
It really does work.
I think the cynical part of my brain, and all of our brains that are used to this, wants to come down on this for being schmaltzy and which, there definitely are moments of schmaltz, and the film kind of dances along that line of schmaltz and poetic. But a lot of the film I spent thinking, I'm just glad that we have this kind of tone back in mainstream cinema. There are delightful sequences. There are these dance numbers that happen in it, and I think the cast are doing great work. Tom Hiddleston, like I said, not in it as much as you'd think, but he's always great. Chiwetel Ejiofor, good and everything. Karen Gillan, actually really good. Not a lot of screen time, but probably the best I've seen her. Mark Hamill, as you say, looking like Oliver Reed actually now.
Yeah, a little bit.
Again, though, the older he becomes and the more varied the roles Mark Hamill's given, just works out great. This sort of grizzled Jewish grandfather. But
also he still has this childlike sense of wonder in his eyes that you always had with Luke Skywalker, which of course I'm projecting onto everything he does, but yet even still, he just, I found his performance electric. It was one of my favorite Mark Hamill performances in there. It's brilliant.
It also has Mia Sara in it, and Mia Sara, I've only ever seen one other thing, which is she's the girlfriend in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And I love it when this happens, when an actor sort of reappears and you're like, you're still in the game. You're still acting. You're still around. I didn't see you in anything. And And she's great in this, and she's wonderful. And I actually hope we see her in more things now in this sort of late career resurgence. But she's fantastic. And Matthew Lillard as well is given one scene, and I'm like, he's good in this. Yeah. He gives a good. He actually kind of sums up the movie. He's talking about all the bad things that are happening, but he does it with this smile on his face. And it's sort of like, well, I don't know, gee, man.
Also, I can't think of another film recently that's dealt with the end of the world, but not in a San Andreas disaster way. It's like a quiet contemplation of the unwinding.
Yes.
By not filming the disaster, it actually gets to breathe and assess the end of the world without trying to film the explosions, which is just quite a refreshing way to do it. And again,
it muses.
It muses.
I also want to say some absolutely fantastic kid acting from Benjamin Pajak, who plays young Charles Krantz, the young Chuck. Just excellent. Now, being a child performer is very hard. Yeah. Being a good child performer is even harder. So, hats off to you, man. So it's a film that it is a mystery, and it kind of reveals itself softly and quietly and slowly. I will say I think the journey is perhaps greater than the destination. I don't think that for a film as grand as its statement and its ideas, I was really hoping it landed a better punch and stuck the landing a lot better. It doesn't fall apart. I wouldn't even say it's a letdown, but it's more that the kind of conclusion, the way the film arrives, having built up all this mystery over these 3 acts, I thought, okay, we're going there. I think I enjoyed the journey rather than the destination there. The film is kind of built around this central idea from this Walt Whitman poem about we contain multitudes. And I will say there are some times when I thought when I was watching the film, maybe the poem was enough. I got everything that means from the poem, which is read, I think, 2 or 3 times in the film, and the film kind of opens that up, unpacks it, explores it, but I don't know if it actually lends more to it. It reminds me of this anecdote which Mark Kermode told once. He was talking to a film director, I can't remember who had a long career, and they had made this really big movie, which was like a big, ambitious passion project, but it was a complete disaster. And Mark Kermode said to them, what were you trying to do with that? What was going on? It didn't really work out. What were you trying to do? And the director went, maybe I should have just written a poem. And I'm sometimes like, sometimes you don't need to over-articulate something.
Well, it is based on a short story, which, as I think it comes to the end, feels short story. Not on the thing that I don't think it's very good, although I don't think it tries to tackle big ideas enough, but it's almost like building a really large pyramid from a smaller foundation.
Yes.
It's like the weighting maybe doesn't quite carry the load. I don't think it's unsuccessful as a film, but I'm like, did we have enough to take a short story, make it into a feature film, and carry so much on its shoulders?
I agree with that. So I have nothing. I've no bad will against the film. I think I have nothing but goodwill towards it. But I think the fact that some people are falling over themselves to call this film a masterpiece, I actually think says more about the drought of optimistic, philosophically curious, spiritually curious movies in mainstream cinema, rather than necessarily the inherent credentials of this movie. Yeah. So not bad. I don't mind. I welcome the dose of magical realism and philosophical fantasy, but I think people have taken that one drop and equated it to a whole ocean.
Yeah.
But it is interesting having it compared to a film like Sorry Baby, which is a much smaller film. But that film is so sharper and more focused in its emotional point. That stayed with me much deeper, and I've thought about that film much more. Whereas Life of Chuck, in sort of being as grand, it's kind of been so broad, and then for Blunt's its kind of message, it didn't really stay with me. I really thought Life of Chuck would be like a life affirming. I would have come away with some real sense of purpose, and it's fine. It's like if you're being really rude and cynical, you'd say it's like a fortune cookie movie.
Yeah.
But Sorry Baby was something that really stuck with me.
So Act 1 of Life of Chuck was my favourite, and I missed once that came to a close, I missed that quite a lot because
Do you mean
Sorry,
Act 3?
Act 3. The first
it was the same. It was my favourite.
The first one with Chiwetel Ejiofor was my favourite, and then as we got into the more sort of Fableman's coming of age part of the film, which, don't get me wrong, like, was really sweet. That did feel almost quite iterative and contrived and kind of things I'd seen before. Nonetheless nice, but you would sort of, the inverse lopsided nature of it meant that you'd sort of serve that maybe a bit too late in your story. Yeah. And as I sort of realized what I thought the film was coming to with its ideas of, you know, we have universes within us, I think the ending didn't disappoint. I did find it poignant. I did find it moving. I don't think I was like, wow, what a triumph. There's lots of like visual cinematic things I think that would be interesting to revisit, like the way in which the attic and the most horror sort of coded part of it, like, is something that's seen by both characters. Like Chiwetel observes an attic, and that's something that's also observed by Chuck. And just like mirrors in the stories.
Yeah, there's lots of echoes. There's lots of echoes of songs, of lines, of things that kind of
seen on television, and all of that I think is quite nicely interwoven. But yeah, like I don't have bad words to say about it. If someone there was another chance, you could have sat down and really sort of gushed about the ideas, and I wouldn't have told you that you were wrong and that you were incorrect to do it, and I would have totally been with it. But then similarly, if someone else told me they really didn't like it, I'm kind of happy to indulge both ideas. I really had to come away from the film and be like, I did enjoy that. I don't think I'm obsessed with it. And that's where I sat.
It's not that deep, but it's not that bad.
Yeah. So my screening, they were so proud of their work, which is obviously really nice to see. But the way they were talking about it, and Tom Hiddleston's parents were there, and he was showing his parents the film for the first time. It's like, that's really great, but it's like, let me watch the film.
You'll see. Because again, sorry, like, Tom, you're not in it that much, Tom. You're really not.
He's on the poster doing the La La Land thing.
The kid is the real, I think, is the most Chuck you get of Chuck, really.
The very end of Act 3, which is Act Fun from us, the image that we're presented with, that was the one moment I was like, whoa, that's a really powerful, dark, but really clever metaphor for what the film is talking about, and I thought that was really brilliant, and I don't think the film rose to the same height. Would genuinely love to hear what you guys have to say, because you guys might have taken something very differently than us. Of course, send in your thoughts to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. We'll read them out in a future episode of the show.
And Jake has written an email about the life of Chuck just before we move on. So Jake said, "Good day, fellow film bros." Well, we're not film bros. We've established Jake, that. We've been over this.
We've established that.
Come on.
We're bros of yours.
Yes.
In the film sphere.
Brethren. But not brohood, you know?
If I saw you, I'd go, brother.
Yeah, brother. Do I find you at the cinema tonight?
Praise answer.
It's about survival. Second time emailer here. Thank you for reading my first one, which was about warfare as seen by an ex-soldier. Yes, that was Jake. That was a great email. Thank you. Just wanted to talk to you about the life of Chuck. I've been a bit naughty and sailed the 7 seas lately, highly controversial in this film-loving community, I'm sure, and managed to watch it before its UK's release. James's review piqued my interest, and I couldn't wait any longer. I've got to say, it was incredible.
There you go.
A deeply reflective film with so much beauty throughout. Also, Matthew Lillard's short scene was breathtaking. He blew me away. He is great at it.
He's really
for
good.
The guy from Without a Paddle. I found he's in Without. I found myself ugly crying quite intensely. Well, that's interesting. I never felt a moment where I would cry. I was touched, maybe a little bit moved, but I wouldn't say there was a moment where I thought, oh my God, what a punch.
I felt a little bit, but I didn't move. No. I didn't get that.
The feelings this film evoked in me weren't far off what I got from The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. I've not seen that, but I can totally see the similar kind of magical realism of it. Both giving a view at everyday life and its beauty. Funnily enough, both titled The Life of Insert Name. I don't want to say such a review too much, as I don't want to take your job, but I will say I will be at the front of the queue to watch this when it releases in the UK and give it the money and the rewatch it deserves.
There you go, I think a rewatch is potentially on the cards for me, like a few years down the line.
I could see me putting this on at Christmas.
Yeah.
Or on a plane. Christmas is quite a nice one for this because it's very gentle. And it's curious enough. You'll get to the end. You'll lean into it.
Yes, yeah.
But people might go, oh, that was quite nice.
Maybe on a plane, because it's non-linear and in reverse. It might not work that well. I don't know if it's like a bit discombobulating on a plane.
Actually.
You want something with a bit more structure.
Yeah.
A bit more to carry me along.
If you nod off for a bit, you wake up and you'll be like, where am I?
Sir, would you like red or white wine? All of a sudden, like, who knows what's going on?
Sir, you were screaming in your sleep. Question, Jake says, not sure if you've spoken about The Secret Life of Walter Mitty before, but interested to know what you guys think of it. It's the film that inspired me to leave the military and travel the world, so I regard it quite highly. Thanks, Jake. I am interested in seeing Secret Life of Walter Mitty for a few reasons. Number one, like I was touching on in my review of Life of Chuck, it is a film that has that kind of hopeful, interesting look at everyday life, which I don't think we get in mainstream cinema anymore. 2, it gets pushed to me a lot on Instagram. 3, we know Ben Stiller is an accomplished film director now, and his work recently on Severance is an example of that. Even though he, by the way, won't be directing Severance season 3 because he's busy directing a feature film about World War II.
He set off the Severance ship.
He has severed himself from the thing. And so with that, I think I'd like to go back and watch it. Also, it was given a massive mainstream release on Christmas Day, and so it financially bombed. I remember that. Yeah. And I think in hindsight, that was not the right time to have done that.
Got a big poster budget.
Yes.
The posters for that were everywhere. It's like Forrest Gump.
Adam Scott's in that movie as well, actually.
He is, yeah. Nepotism, get your mates in.
That's just the industry, isn't it?
Industry, yeah.
But thank you for that, Jake.
George, should we go through some of the emails that we get sent into the show every single week? As always, guys, if you want to send in your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, your reviews, you can, of course, send them into
hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com.
Or you can support us at the VIP tier on Patreon and have priority access to have your email read out on the show, just like VIP Shane does. Shane, thank you so much for your support. Shane writes in and says, "Dear James and George." Yeah, he's got block caps, James. And George, yes, I'm picking a side this time. Let the James regime begin. Come on, Cyrus. I don't want a war.
The die's been cast.
This is about survival. Join me on the uprising. Silence. Hi, guys.
I'm gonna partner with Denzel Washington and we're gonna behead you and install a monkey into state. It's a Gladiator 2 reference.
Hi, guys. I've been listening to your podcast since the cooking days.
Wow.
My first email to y'all was years ago talking about the saddest scenes in movies, and what cracked me up was y'all jokingly impersonating me with a thick Southern Texas accent. It's because you put y'all in your...
I do declare that one of my scariest movies...
I laughed so hard because I'm a Sri Lankan guy with a typical American accent without any twang. So far from the truth. Anyways, I wanted to talk about Weapons. So, guys, we reviewed Weapons last week and we did a spoiler cast.
And
so go and check that out.
Feel very much like the movie of the moment.
Totally.
Like,
really on social media in our sphere, people are really championing it. Lots of just like stories of people being like, absolutely love this film. It's been a real hit. I want to talk about Weapons. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie and I'm so excited for Zach Cregger's career. The last time I saw this guy was on a TBS comedy show called Wrecked, and to have him come out with 2 horror hits is just phenomenal. The only thing I have with this movie is the above the dream sequence, and I thought that seemed on the nose or goofy for a film such as this, but overall, I put him in with my excitement for filmmakers in the last 10 years, such as Robert Eggers, Celine Song, Andrew Haigh, and Philippe Brothers.
Yes.
Just hummed over spoilers, but go and check out our spoiler cast because we talk about that thing in there.
Just on that thing in that particular dream sequence, which we're going to hum over, but I saw Zach Cregger talking about that.
Oh, right.
And I actually found this really refreshing, but basically he was like, I don't really know what that means. He's like, I really liked the idea of it, and I thought maybe it could be this, could that, but to be honest with you, I don't have a reason for putting it in there. It just stuck out to me, and I thought, you know what? Fair play, because most writers would go, yeah, no, that is actually a very specific thing that I put in for that reason. I think...
for a dream sequence, you can be like, it's random and it's meant to distract.
There is also something I have to tell you off camera, because it's a spoiler, about... in that dream sequence and the number that it's shown and the reason why it means that thing. But carry on.
Go and check out our spoiler cast. Here's my question for you. My girlfriend Emily has seen a lot of American films.
My girlfriend Emily hasn't seen a lot of American films.
And we want to spend a day or weekend with the perfect curated list of films from any genre to binge.
Blimey.
I'm talking about deciding what movie to start the marathon, movies for the middle to keep you engaged, but also enthralled with emotions and imagination, and how to gently end a movie marathon with feeling of completeness. If you had to pick 5 films, what are they and how would you organize them? They could be from any genre. It's like directing a journey for your audience. Funny, sad, romantic, adventurous, dark. Last request. This will be a surprise for her as we'll be listening to this in real time. So if you don't mind shouting out to Emily, and please convey to her that I'm truly lucky to love someone who lets me indulge my adoration for film without hesitation and lets me join her journey into it. And a little heart. Y'all are amazing. I have a feeling I'll see you with your own film of sorts. Keep up the good work. And to George, James paid me to do the first part. Okay, bye. Shane.
Emily. Hi. Thank you for joining us. Shane's a great guy. And
Emily,
he writes a good email.
To jump on the George bandwagon.
Yeah, please, Emily, come in on my side, please.
That's a huge question.
Are we saying American movies? Do you mean basically quintessential Hollywood movies? Or do you want to do 5 movies with American in the title?
Oh,
that could be fun.
I would say it's more about like America. Movies about America.
But is it like about America, or is it just like that's such an American
capturing
movie?
The spirit of America. Like,
where do you start with that?
Well, yeah, you could do like The Breakfast Club, something about that. Like feels very American, high school. There's something.
I'd take Ferris Bueller over Breakfast Club because he's out and about in the city, American city. Let's do that.
The Patriot.
Let's do. I like Shawshank because it's a big glossy Hollywood American movie and about the criminal justice system in America.
Like an old Superman film could be a great shout.
What about Forrest Gump? Because it's like
I'd stand by that.
Fun blockbuster, covers American history.
I'd also like to shout out First Man, Damien Chazelle film, underrated. Ryan Gosling about the moon landing.
Yeah,
love that.
I think for this, I would also When Harry Met Sally.
Oh yeah,
America, New York, like quintessential.
Yes.
And then The Terminal. I think The Terminal could
underrated
be a good shout.
film.
Underrated
movie.
movie.
Very, very good.
No more Caucasia. And last one, Pulp Fiction. There you go. I think Pulp Fiction, like it's because it's like taken all of filmmaking, not just Hollywood, wrapped it up, recycled it, and spit it out into kind of a pulpy fun.
First of all, love you guys. Thanks so much for writing your email. Those are really big questions when you're like all the different genres. We and George are working on a format we really want to unpack probably within a few weeks where we're going to run through the very best of the film genres in some capacity. Yeah. And we want to sort of like have our definitive like comedies, horror, romance, sci-fi, and run through it. So stay tuned. We want to do like nice little punchy listicles of what are some of our faves.
In fact, if you like have ideas, like if it's not a question, like you can be just like, oh, when you get round to it, I'd love you to do best so-and-so films. Yeah. Or also, sometimes if you make them niche, the better. Like best movies set on a mountain or something like that.
Everest, great film.
The OG mountain.
The OG mountain.
Moving on to Hugh, who writes in about weapons. Hugh says, hello, James and George and James. This email is going to feel like therapy, but I do have a question for you at the end of it. Last night, I went to go and see Weapons, which a friend and I have been looking forward to for months. We both really enjoyed the film, but it was an experience I haven't had in a cinema in a long time. Firstly, the film was great and lived up to the hype. I've watched your spoiler cast and agree with everything you guys said. I don't usually like horror films with jump scares, but these worked. The way Zach Craig to tighten the screw, as George put it, was fantastic. The actor who played James was great too. Great comedic performance. Who's James in the movie? All of the performances were excellent. I love Resident Evil, so I'm keen to see what Craig does, but it's a film series with a bad past, so let's see.
I've never seen a Resident Evil film. The games are brilliant. First 4 in particular.
Resident Evil, is that Mia Jovovich?
Yeah, in the films. Yeah. They made loads of them, didn't they?
Yeah, loads. Yeah. And do you know what? I've never seen Underworld. Never seen any of those.
Oh,
either.
yeah, I've seen Underworld.
Are they good?
Yeah, if it's the 2000s and it's that like post-leather Matrix era, yeah, there's definitely something for it. I don't think they hold up.
The screening was more, Hugh goes on to say, the screening was more busy than I expected, and a few people came in a minute or two late, which was okay. A little distracting, but they found their seats and got into the film.
It's an annoying one for that film, because the start is very decisive.
I've seen a lot of videos of people talking about cinema etiquette, specifically with weapons, because it's a film that's clearly a lot of people have gone to see, and they've encountered how annoying people are around. What was really distracting, however, was the guy who sat on the opposite side of the aisle to me. We were separated by just the steps, who opened a family bag of popcorn just as the BBFC rating came on the screen and did not make any effort to eat it quietly. Loud rustling, loud chewing throughout the first 40 minutes. Even during the a dream sequence where it's quiet and the tension is building, he's there ramming popcorn down his gullet, not giving one solitary shit. Yes,
I will just say on this, like, as someone who likes to save their confectionery for when the film started, I do believe that you should, if it is a loud packet, your packet should be opened before. Yeah. I think BBFC, you're sort of on the edge, right? But I think by the time you get to, and again, if it's like the Paramount logos, if there's intense musical dialogue over that, you should have opened it before. Yeah. And then you shouldn't be opening it in the start scenes. Really, that last trailer, that's when you should be opening your stuff. Sorry, thank you.
Eventually, he scrunched up the bag before shoving it under his seat, sighed loudly, and slumped back in his chair. I got the feeling he'd been dragged along to the cinema and wanted to let his other half know he wasn't there to enjoy it, so she couldn't either. I found it pretty inconsiderate and infuriating. It is. People can do one. Like, I saw someone complaining about cinema etiquette in a very fair way, and one of the comments on the video was like, well, just don't sit near me then. I'm like, you're the problem. You are the problem.
That's terrible.
That is the attitude. Yeah. That's the problem. My question is, how do you deal with this situation? People eat during the film. I do too sometimes, but I've usually finished my snacks before the film has started. There you go. You're like me. But certain genres like horror, when it's all about atmosphere, is very off-putting. Talking or phone use are easy to challenge, but what about someone grazing? Thanks for letting me rant. Glad to see the pod going from strength to strength and always looking forward to new episodes. All the best, Hugh.
I don't think you can tell someone off for chewing too loudly. I wish you could, but I don't think you can really police that.
You could just tell them to be quiet. You could be like, could you stop making so much noise?
If they're talking, yes. I think if they're chewing, it's like a bodily function.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, there are ways to chew quietly, and I think you should chew in selective scenes. And for horror as well, I think you know there's going to be lots of silences.
That what happened with me. That's what when I went to see Halloween, the original, for the first time.
Right, yeah.
At the Prince Charles, guy next to me clearly hadn't eaten dinner. He was putting that popcorn away.
But even in our screenings, where like you went to like an industry screening where like people are invited ahead of time, they're either industry or journalists or like influencers who should know better. It's like we still find that attracts a certain type of person who's not sort of like
invested in the
same way that we are.
Guy next to me arrived with 2 full plates of nachos, and I thought, oh shit. Luckily, he ate them all before the film started.
Yeah,
and that was good.
Next one is from Thomas, who writes in, Weapons. Hi, James and George. Hope you're well. Second time emailer here, and I always look forward to your reviews every week. Especially love listening to reviews when I do my artwork.
Oh,
how
great.
Lovely. I'm thinking crossed legs on a stool, huge easel, mixing a little painting
picture
thing.
Thomas a bit like Simon McBurney in Nosferatu, who's just naked on the floor, scrawling pentagrams with candles around while
all of the walls are just like quotes that
Providence. Weapons review, very good.
His email gets read out. He just looks to the sky and rolls his eyes back.
Sirens on our end.
Sirens on our end. Sirens on our end. Lots of sirens on this Tuesday morning. Thomas goes on to say, I've just come out of my screening of Weapons and I absolutely loved it. Didn't know what to expect, but wow, this is one of the most uncomfortable and fun experiences I've had in a cinema. I like that, uncomfortable and fun. Those jump scares were very effective and terrifying. Love seeing Julie Garner get so much recognition with this and Fantastic Four, one of my favorite actresses, especially from Ozark. Good performances from Josh Brolin, Alden Ehrenreich, and especially Amy Madigan. I hope there are some awards buzz for her creepy performance. Had a blast, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you both live for your 200th episode. Live.
I hope you live.
Ooh, Thomas sends a message.
Yeah, get your tickets. We'll see about that.
Execute Order 66. Thank you for being my favourite podcaster.
Thank you, Thomas. Do you know what? About 2 things. About Julia Garner, there was the shot of her at the bar waiting for Alden Ehrenreich to arrive, which is in the first chapter of the movie.
Yeah.
There was a lot of talk on the internet in the recent years about people wanting a Madonna biopic with Julia Garner playing the role. And when she was sat there at the bar, I was like, oh my God, I could see it, specifically the kind of true blue 1980s Madonna. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I'd love to see that. She just has the look perfectly.
I'm surprised we haven't had a Madonna biopic. It must be coming up.
I assume that, I think, complete conjecture here. Madonna is someone who controls her estate very tightly, and it's like, why do I need a biopic? Because I'm not a has-been, I'm a right now.
Yes, she still believes that it's all fucking going fine.
Didn't she? Wasn't it her who broke the record for the biggest concert ever attended in Brazil? And it was like 1 million people on the beach.
Wasn't that Lady Gaga?
She then broke it, I think.
Right.
But I think Madonna still pulls a crowd.
Yeah, I believe it.
Also with Weapons, it's so playful. Just before we move on to talk about other films, it's just so playful and fun. I'm really wondering if it's the kind of film actually I could get my parents to watch.
Oh yeah, are they receptive
they don't usually mind horror films, because I floated it. I said, oh, I saw this good film the other day, Weapons, and they were like, oh, we're not against horror. And I remember I showed them Jordan Peele's Us. Yes. And they really enjoyed that. They found it very unsettling, very gripping. But I'm also like, that's also very playful and fun.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if they could probably get the same thing from Weapons. And Weapons, unlike Barbarian, which is quite grotesque, Weapons isn't quite that in the same way.
No, you're not trapped underground like Barbarian keeps you, like shoving things in your face.
Oh,
You've seen it. So with Us, that experience of watching it, a little bit scary, but like Talia didn't find it, she didn't struggle to get through the film, but afterwards, to this day, she like is traumatized by the idea of Us.
Oh, wow.
And she really like thinks about it a lot. And if I mention Us, she was like, oh my God, like that film, I think about that film all the time. And it's like scared something to her core, which is quite an interesting one. But like the actual process of watching it, a bit scary, not like, oh, I can't, I'm looking through my fingers.
That's a good movie.
I really like
Us.
Good. I actually have wanted to rewatch it because I want to now, with the knowledge of what happens, I want to watch the beginning and see all the cues that's going on there.
Just also one last thing on Weapons is that I saw, again, somebody had pulled up the script from Weapons online and was reading through it. And everyone is obviously talking about how haunting that image is of the kids with their arms out running. It's like a signature horror image now. And I think a lot of people are calling it the Naruto run because it references something. But actually in the script, because that Naruto runner's arms behind, the kids are running with their arms to their sides, right?
So like
to the out like a plane. in the script, Zach Craig has said the child runs with his arms outstretched, and the visual reference he uses is actually, do you know that very famous photo from the Vietnam War of the kid, of the child with the napalm on, the naked child? Horrific image, very famous. And he was like that in the script. He said they run like the child burning from napalm in Vietnam. And I was like, oh, that's such an interesting visual reference to trauma, because there is something haunting about that.
Yes.
Oh, I thought, I could unpack his mind for ages. Let's move on to talk about Materialists now.
Yeah. Moving on to Materialists.
Yes.
Shani, which we reviewed last week.
And spoke to Celine Song.
And spoke to Celine Song. Great privilege it was. Shani writes in about Materialists. Another perspective, a deeper, positive look. Dear James and George and James. Shani here from Brisbane, Australia. Huge fan of the show.
Hey.
Australians always coming in hot with us.
If you're an Aussie listening in Australia to us right now, thank you.
For all the Aussies out there, can you do like a meetup and send a photo?
Oh, that'd be nice.
Because we can't go.
It's very big,
right
Australia.
Now. It's very. I know it's very big, but they all live in the same bits. Like no one's living. It's like the least occupied part of planet Earth.
Yeah.
Just like a meetup. Because I know you guys are all there, and you're so inaccessible to us, apart from the lovely emails. Anyway,
we'll get there one day.
Yeah. If any of you meet up in Australia, send us a picture. And we'll share it. Charlie here from Brisbane, Australia. Huge fan of the show. I just watched your review of Materialists and heard the lukewarm opinions both of you and a few podcast listeners had of the film, saying it was one-dimensional and the ending and moral of the film were obvious from about 20 minutes in. Although, yes, I too could see the ending coming a mile away, there were some deeper themes and reflections I took away from the film I wanted to share. A lot of the reviews have mentioned that Lucy is unlikable, but maybe we are not supposed to like it. I did say that in my review. I said she's unlikable. I don't think we're supposed to like her necessarily.
But Lucy is a character.
Yeah.
I think she's stuck in a career that is making her, again, prioritize material things.
I think it's actually a little bit, I won't get back to you, sorry. It's something quite bold about making a main character in a film like that, not someone that we immediately love and are rooting for. A lot of the reviews have mentioned that Lucy is unlikable, but maybe we are not supposed to like her, but recognize her. In my opinion, she's not heartless or unemotional but in my opinion, she's not heartless or unemotional, but armoured.
Yeah, I thought that was armoured, like love.
Armoured. As a woman in her 30s, as I am, and many men and women who went out to cinemas to watch this film are, we are approaching dating from a different perspective than our 20-something-year-old selves. Most of us at this stage in our lives have been hurt, burnt, battered, or betrayed, so we enter the dating market again with a more sceptical look, hardened, and usually with somewhat of a checklist, just like Lucy and her clients. Lucy's armoured demeanour was also reflected in her job as a matchmaker. As she grew up in financial hardship and came from an unstable home, she craves control, especially in love, which results in her giving up on her dream of being an actor or for orchestrating or controlling other people's love lives. When the serious turn later in the movie happens, it affects her because it was something she felt like she should have had control over, like everything else in her life. And I think that bothered her more than the devastating effect it had on the person that happened to, which is why it felt a bit cold to the audience. The two men in Lucy's life were two-dimensional and felt like caricatures rather than fully developed characters, as is how Lucy sees them. She never allows herself to get to know the men she dates and keeps them at arm's length, where they are safe and easy to put labels on and, in turn, don't really get to know her. Pedro's character is soft, successful, and emotionally generous, but Lucy can't connect to his affection as she claims to love her for her intangible qualities, her presence, her mind, her energy. But to Lucy, that is inconceivable as she cannot connect to those parts of herself, so she keeps him at a safe distance and dehumanizes him, convincing herself that because he's a unicorn, he is not real. She never allows herself to really know him. I kind of think it's there. It might not be like overtly there in each scene, but I do think that's there. Chris Evans' character makes perfect sense to her. He is safe, his insecurities are known to her, and he feels real. I like that his insecurities are known to her. Whereas Pedro's are sort of like
hidden. Yeah.
Yes. He feels lived in and easy. She could slip back into that relationship like an old pair of shoes and know she will always be loved, but she will always see him as easy and less than her. He doesn't ask her to grow or open up, as he hasn't grown or changed since they were together. This is a relationship where she has the control. What makes her choice in the end sting is that Lucy probably doesn't even, that's just conscious of spoilers. What makes the ending sting is blah, blah, blah. From where we are sitting in the audience, the pattern is obvious, but when you are inside it, the logic of self-protection and ease feels like love and is almost impossible to see the difference. Lucy doesn't really see the full story of herself. She doesn't want to have a dig deeper or grow, and deep down, and maybe we should just be afraid we don't either. I spent days thinking about it afterwards and wish everyone could consider these themes more deeply in their own lives. Just my thoughts. Thank you for the amazing content, Shani.
Shani, that is a fantastic email.
A really
that is the
good
kind
email.
of critical analysis that we love to hear, that you have taken that film and thought about it and dissected it and pointed out things in a really, you've really stewed on that film and you have really caught clearly what Celine Song was trying to catch in a way that I don't think I caught.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you. And I just really liked your points there. I
did say at the time, I think the film is quite thought-provoking and pensive, and it did have me very interested in those longer conversations. And I love that, you've lifted so much out of that. And
I didn't come away there with any ramification. Like I didn't stew over the wider ideas in the same way Shani did and notice certain things.
Yeah.
It didn't help that I saw the film over quite a few weeks ago now, but like that's Shani. I just love that. I love that. That's a really good observation. This next email is from Bobby, who writes in about the marketing of Materialist,
which we talked about a lot.
Yeah, great poster. Inherently, I love the poster from a graphic design point of view. Gorgeous, the accent color of the red heart balloon. It's smart. Yeah. It's retro, but it's also clean. Love it.
But our comments with it maybe. To people who weren't, it could be misconstrued to be something a lot sort of lighter and bubbly and a little bit more like a sort of Nancy Meyers fun comedy set in New York with that cast looking very beautiful. But I started watching and I was like, oh, this is slower. This is more
like I said in my review. Look at their facial expressions. That tells you what the kind of movie. They're not smiling.
Yeah,
but they're kind of pouting. Yeah. Matt writes in with an email about the marketing of Materialists. Matt writes in and says, "Hi, James and George. I'm writing to say that I went to see Materialists today and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a really thoughtful examination and takedown of the tendency of modern dating, especially in the era of dating apps, to strip people down to their base attributes and capitalistic value whilst missing the things that really matter. I think it's rare these days for a writer-director to single-mindedly commit to a theme and properly mine everything they have to say about it. I think after seeing this and past lives, Celine Song is proving to be very capable of that. However, I feel like the marketing is guilty of stripping the film down in the very same way, potentially harming its reputation as a result. The jaunty trailer, the emphasis on the famous cast, and the colourful poster all created a false impression that the film's going to be something completely different. Though there are plenty of valid criticisms that could be levelled at the film, I'm sure Song is happy that it's reached a wide audience. I couldn't help but think the prioritisation of that wide audience has led to an oversized backlash from people who, for no fault of their own, weren't prepared for the tone or style of writing when they sat down to watch it. If Materialists had been properly marketed as a thoughtful, writerly meditation on capitalism and love, it might not have had made as much money, but I think the people who did go and see it could potentially have been more receptive to it and its reputation would be different. What do you two think? Should a film be good enough to overcome whatever expectations were created by marketing materials, or can those materials create such an initial dissonance that it can be hard to readjust before the film ends? Hope you guys are well. Matt.
I don't know how you market that film without... You've got 3 huge stars in there. You've got 2 Avengers and some people who are in very, very big films. You're not going to not have them be floating heads in a poster. Not floating heads, but be prominent in the poster. You could have like an artistic sort of like 2D artist, like Materialists, like someone walking down New York. Like it's always going to have the 3 of them. I don't know how you you avoid that.
I also don't think it is so egregiously misleading in that. Like I think the film is doing a lot and has lots of different tones in it. So I think when it comes to the art of film marketing, it's very hard to refine that into an image. And I do understand the difficulty that probably the marketing department had, which is like, okay, this film is doing a lot and has a lot here. How do we still need to sell this to an audience in a way? So they went for a kind of more sophisticated, kind of pulled back, restrained kind of look.
And also the poster is them like kind of bow ties undone at a wedding table. It's kind of like 4 Weddings and a Funeral, or even Harry Met Sally, like that kind of Wedding Crashers. It evokes a very, very different type of film. This next one is from journalist Adam Barlow. We salute you, sir. Qualified journalist Adam Barlow writes in, "Hello, guys. I hope you're both well. I'm writing after listening to your review of Materialists," which is italicized. I agree with George.
Of course he's italicized. He's a proper journalist.
He's journalist Adam Barlow. I agree with George in this case that the film felt very meandering. Where Past Lives was brilliantly intimate, thoughtful, and self-assured, Materialist feels ironically shallow and repetitive. Dakota Johnson continues to seem so disinterested. She's just bland here. I think she'd excel if her character was wry or sarcastic, but she instead seems naive and self-centered. Pedro Pascal can do no wrong in my eyes, but his character was sadly underwritten. written. It's Chris Evans that surprisingly made the biggest impact with the sweet monologues in the final act.
Yeah, that's what I said, yeah.
As the more serious topic in the second half, I was glad that it was addressed, but frustrated when it wasn't unpacked at all. That's almost worse than excluding it altogether. For me, it spends way too much time underlining the obvious and only flirts with the idea of delivering a unique answer. On a different note, I completed my challenge of seeing Fantastic Four First Steps 4 times. Have you guys ever given yourself some silly film challenge or lined up in an unhinged double bill? All the best, Adam. I mean, I hope you really liked Fantastic Four to see it 4 times.
Do you think you go in each time wanting and you just focus on one character?
Close your eyes and they're not on screen.
This is the Sue Storm version. This is the Ben Grimm version.
That's great. I disagree a little bit with you there, Adam, but like, again, I think people are taking very different things out of this. I don't think that Dakota Johnson seems disinterested.
I'm on the fence.
Yeah,
Dakota.
I quite liked her. I think she's a slow talker.
Yeah, I like her in interviews. I think she's really dry and funny. Her best performance for me was sitting down in front of Ellen DeGeneres and saying, "But I did invite you."
That's
Brilliant.
Oh,
I think I quote that all the time. I thought this was going to be the movie where I go, "Yeah, Dakota Johnson, great," but it hasn't been. But don't worry. Yeah. This next email, another one about Materialist, is from Alice, who writes in and says, "Hi James and George. First time emailer here. Saw Materialist last night, having been a huge fan of past lives, and wanted to share my thoughts. Again, with all these emails, I really don't know which way they're going to go.
Yeah. I kind of like it.
I completely agree that it was a rom-com without the com.
Yeah.
That was the interesting thing. When we talked about the marketing being misleading and stuff, I fully expected Celine Song to be like, "Oh, this is actually a romance stuff." But she called it a rom-com. And I'm like, what's happening here? Yeah. Any laughs were derived from the awkwardness, shock of Lucy's client saying out loud what should really be left unspoken.
Sorry, the helicopter's circling above.
For example, a client asked for, don't me over spoilers, "I'm in two minds about the marketing campaign. Clearly what they wanted to suggest was that the film was a straight rom-com. The poster brought to mind How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, even though that is an obvious missell given the film's tone and themes. But I quite like that the marketing might mislead a more mainstream audience into seeing the film, as it has a lot of serious, even confronting things to say about dating, love, and class. I found the dialogue inconsistent. There were some genuinely brilliant lines, while other bits were unnaturalistic and overly repetitive. That's kind of how I felt. Certain lines I was like, brilliant, well articulated. And sometimes I thought, I didn't mind that Harry didn't come across as having much of a personality. In my interpretation, that was consistent with him not wanting to be vulnerable, knowing he can sell himself only on his assets without having to build any emotional depth with a partner. For me, he was a more developed character than either Lucy or John by virtue of what was left unsaid. I found their relationship less convincing, perhaps because you don't get any moments of lightness showing them actually having any fun together. Ultimately, I didn't get that punch in the air moment I think you need from a rom-com when stuff happens. That left me leaving the cinema feeling cynical but hugely impressed by Celine Song's attempts to unpack the big questions and her commanding visual storytelling. That's basically how I feel, Alice. It's like respect for the intent, maybe not so much in the execution. On a side note, I loved that a film about romance was so little concerned with sex. The scenes with
That's very true.
Lucy and Harry post-coitus were used to great effect to show the emotional distance between them. That is interesting.
It's like the film's not a chick flick, even though like assigning gender to a style of film is very old-fashioned.
Yeah.
That's like not what it is, but it very much in a different time period would be marketed as such. Guys, we still have loads of emails left and more on Materialist, so thank you so much for writing them in. We will get back to them when we have time, or maybe later this week when we jump into one of our bonus episodes, so stay tuned for that. But George, those are the emails for this week. As always, send them into hello@pocketpodcast.com. Let's move on. I watched a really great documentary about the people who work on board the British submarines and who stay underwater for up to 4 months at a time in incredibly close quarters. And it was so tight and everything's like bolted down. They have to store the food in all of like the showers because they have to have all this fresh food, then they eat all the fresh food and then they're making things. And I just looked at that, I was like, God, that is actually in a lot of ways harder than being in space. And I would find it more anxiety inducing in a lot of ways to be like hundreds of meters underwater.
Yeah.
And they pop up, but like the people living in that thing, they don't leave months at a time.
You know what? At least in space, you can look out the window and be like, wow, there's Earth.
There's
the
universe.
universe.
You just bang on the thing. Wow. And I just thought that was really, really crazy.
Some of the best divers don't even know how to swim.
They go overboard. They're toast.
That is a Interstellar reference. Yes. So, James, as ever, Pulp Kitchen ends
with a game.
And it's a new game today.
A new game.
Today. And I'm wondering how to quickly summarize what this game is for you. But basically, James, when I was watching The Life of Chuck, I was like, that's Tom Hiddleston. that's Chiwetel Ejiofor, that's Karen Gillan, and for one scene, that's David Dastmalchian. And I was thinking, those are all people who have been in superhero movies.
Oh.
And actually, it's quite common now to go to the cinema and see a movie where a lot of the actors have walked through the Marvel DC university. They've graduated from the University of Marvel and DC. So, James, what I've done is I have made a list of films that have superhero actors in them.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to describe those movies with those superhero actors. So, for example, if I said Nebula and Mordo reconnect while Loki dances, you'd be like, The Life of Chuck.
I see.
So I'm going to describe a movie plot with the superhero actors in them, and you have to tell me what the movie is.
I like this. I like this.
So,
okay.
Shall I say, guess the movie from the superhero actors in their plots, or guess the movie from the superheroes in their plots?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go then, guys.
Okay.
And just remember, James, I will say this before we start. Different actors have played different iterations of the same superhero, haven't they?
Right, okay.
So just remember,
yeah.
don't you?
Yeah. Okay.
James,
Yes.
guess the movie plot from the superhero actors in them.
Okay.
Spider-Man and General Zod sell houses.
That is Andrew Garfield and Michael Shannon in 99 Homes. Underrated
Great
film.
movie.
Yeah.
Great movie. Iron Man and Scarecrow disagree about the power of the atom.
That is, of course, Oppenheimer.
Yep.
Yes, very good.
Hawkeye and Falcon defuse bombs.
It's the Hurt Locker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Batman, Rocket, Mystique, and Lois Lane try to con Hawkeye.
Try to con Hawkeye. Batman, Lois Lane, Mystique. It's American Hustle.
Yes. Thor gets mad in the desert.
It's Mad. Oh, Mad Max. Furiosa.
Correct.
Sorry, Furiosa, Mad Max.
Captain America and Reed Richards compete for Madam Web's affection.
Materialists.
Yes.
Yeah.
Galactus warns Lex Luthor and Quicksilver of a coming evil with the help from Green Goblin.
Nosferatu.
Yes.
This is really hard.
The Silver Surfer and Thanos solve a mystery while Wong runs.
A materialist.
No,
weapons.
Iron Man and Mysterio try to report a mystery with help from the Hulk.
Zodiac.
Yes. Spider-Man and Lex Luthor change the internet.
The Social Network.
Yes.
You know what my brain is doing? It's just when you say elephant, all you picture is an elephant. I'm just picturing that film with the superheroes in it. Yeah.
J. Jonah Jameson abuses Reed Richards.
Whiplash. Very good. Yeah.
Wolverine and Batman share a rivalry despite the advice of Black Widow and Alfred.
Wolverine and who? Alfred.
Wolverine and Batman share a rivalry despite the advice of Black Widow and Alfred.
The Prestige.
Yes.
Very good. Yeah.
Bruce Banner beats the crap out of Morbius.
Out of Morbius. Bruce Banner.
Yeah, but not that Bruce Banner.
Jared Leto. Is it Eric Banner and
Not that Bruce Banner.
Ed Norton?
Yeah.
And Jared Leto.
Yes.
What's that?
Beats the crap out of Morbius.
What's that again?
What movie does Edward Norton like to punch people in?
Oh, Fight Club.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't think about that.
And lastly, Killmonger and Valkyrie want to beat up Kang.
Creed 3.
Yes. Do you know what? With the exception of the Morbius one, you got all of those.
Yeah, I think I forget
impressed.
Jared Leto is in Fight Club.
Yes,
I think that's what
he's
threw me.
babyface and he beats the crap out of him.
He
With
is.
it.
Oh god, that was I need a nap.
Yeah.
That's really hard because I just think about Killmonger and Thing in some weird movie.
But I like it when these actors have all been in stuff
That's
with
a
each other.
brilliant game.
Thank
That's
you.
a brilliant
Thank you.
game.
Thank you.
Very good. Do you think there's room for more rounds of that down the line?
Totally. And I've just kept it to superheroes. I could do more.
yeah, you
Star
could do
Wars
more.
actors,
Yeah.
anything.
Oh yeah, like Obi-Wan Kenobi and blah blah blah. Yeah, you could just actually even mishmash.
All genres, yeah, anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi and James Bond or something like
That's
that.
great fun.
There you go.
That's great fun.
I'm glad you enjoyed that. That was a little fun little chuckle
could be
on
a
the train.
good pub quiz table game.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? You write it out.
Yeah,
and
because they're a
you've
bit riddleish, aren't they?
Yes. Ooh, I know.
Yes.
That's very good.
Thank you very much. That was episode 194 of Pulp Kitchen. I hope you enjoyed listening to that. Do check out the feed for more things coming out later this week. We're hoping to drop some bonus episode with some more film reviews if we can do that. And guys, just don't forget, if you enjoyed this episode, imagine seeing it live on stage. Close your eyes, guys, and imagine hearing these voices in front of you on stage. Yeah. And it's going to be one hell of a party.
We hope to see many of you there. A link will be in the description if you want to buy your tickets and come down. We very much look forward to seeing you.
And if you're thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to get my tickets, I'll get them later. No, get them now.
No, they are.
Lock
they
them
are
in now
selling
because
fast.
they are selling. So we don't want you to miss out. Thank you very much.
New episodes every single Wednesday. More bonus content coming later this week. Hopefully catching Eddington.
Yeah, and next week we're reviewing Court Stealing, the new Darren Aronofsky movie with
hopefully
Austin
an
Butler.
interview with Matt Smith and Aronofsky.
Darrenovsky, I like to call it.
Darrenovsky.
If I was him, I would have just portmanteaued my name and just that's what I want to be known as, Darrenovsky.
I've always been thrown by
maybe
like
D apostrophe Aronofsky.
Darren. Yeah, he's got the double Aaron. It's like Darren Aaron.
Yeah. Why would you,
Darren
for me, it's just
Arabara.
like drop the Darren.
Yeah, you've
It's
already got
cleaner.
an hour in there.
Thank you
exciting.
for
But
listening as ever, guys.
Just in general, George, like last few episodes, we've had as supplemental interviews the stars and directors of the films, just to toot our own horns.
And you know what? I must say, a month ago, I was a bit like, this year's not been great. And now in the past month,
a film, sorry,
films, and I think with things now like Sorry Baby and the horror films we've seen recently, I was like, oh, things are changing.
And good things coming down the line.
Good things coming down that line. We can't wait for. So
stay tuned for all of it.
Stay tuned because there are some great films coming up, and we will be covering them. And if you also want to hear us cover movie news, check out Double Take, which is our Patreon exclusive show. There's lots of movie news to cover these days. So
Double
check that
Take's
out.
becoming its own gigantor unto itself.
Gigantor.
And
thank you to our producers Finn and Dave. We really appreciate it. And just thank you in general for listening, guys. Like, we're an independently produced podcast. We love doing this. Thank you so much. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye.